Dear students, greetings of the day and a very warm welcome to my second video on a chapter called as cookies. I am Chef Kiran Shende, Associate Professor, AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology, would be talking to you a chapter second part that is called as cookies. In the previous session, we have understood what the basics of cookies were. So let us revise the previous session. What did we understand? So what a cookie is, basically it is a small cake. The characteristics of cookies we have understood. Few characteristics are mentioned in front of you. Crispiness, every cookie has to be crisp. Softness is one characteristic. A cookie has to be soft. The cookie has to be chewy. And lastly, we have understood the cookie has to have a good spread. So those who have not attended my first class, my humble request to you is to go and visit my first session on cookies. So the connect between these two sessions will happen. Now, on that very note, let us begin with the objectives. At the end of the session, you will be able to understand various mixing methods of cookies. Now, like cake mixing methods, there are cookie mixing methods also. So again, those who have missed my first session on cake making, kindly visit my YouTube channel. You'll find my first chapter on cake making so that you can have both the things together. We'll be understanding also in this chapter how panning, baking, and cooling of cookie happens. On that very note, let us start with our first objective, that is basic methods of cookie making. Basically, there are three methods of cookie making. Method number one, one stage method. Method number two, a creaming method. Method number three, a sponge method. Let us take this method one by one. We begin with method number one, that is called as a one stage method. Now, as the name says, this is the most quickest method of cookie making. What happens in step one? You have to scale all the ingredients accurately and have all the ingredients at room temperature. In step two, put all the ingredients in a planetary mixer with a paddle attachment, which can be seen in the photograph with a paddle attachment. Mix all the ingredients at a low speed so that the mixture is uniformly blended. Now, to be on a safer side, you should keep on scraping the sides so that the mixture blends fast and there is less amount of handling happens. Okay. Second method is same like sugar batter method in cake making, that is creaming method of cookie making. Step one, what happens? All the ingredients are scaled accurately at a room temperature. Second step, what happens? The fat, the sugar, the salt, the spices, all are put up in the planetary mixer with a paddle attachment, and it is mixed at a slow speed. Now it depends upon what cookie are you making, the mixing should differ. So for light cookies, cream until the mixture is light and fluffy in order to incorporate more air, like for your sponge cakes. For denser cookies, blend it to a smooth paste, but do not cream until it is very light. Creaming method, step 3. What happens in step 3? Add the liquids and the eggs and blend it on a slow speed. Now, every point in time, you also have to make sure that you're not over mixing the mixture. Okay. Finally, what you do is you sift in the flour with all the leavening agents, mix until everything is combined. And like I said to you before, don't over mix the dough or don't over mix the batter, otherwise the gluten will develop and which will hamper the texture of your cookie. The third method and the last method, which I'm going to tell it to you, is a sponge method of cookie making. Similar method is followed for cake making also. So what happens in step 1? Scale all the ingredients correctly, have all the ingredients at room temperature. You can warm up the eggs a little bit so that a good volume is achieved, like for your sponge cakes. Step 2, what happens? Following the procedure given in the formula, so it depends upon the cookie which you're making. Whip the eggs, maybe whole or maybe egg whites, to soft peaks, as you can see it in the picture. Thick and light for whole eggs or yolk. So again, like I said, it depends upon what cookie you're making. So the stiffness, the consistency of the beaten egg differs as per the cookie. Step 3, what happens? Fold the remaining ingredients as specified in the recipe. Be very careful not to deflate the eggs. So very careful by cut and fold as quick as possible so that less of air is escaping out during the folding operation. This is how the end product looks like, which is more fluffier than a cookie. Macaroon is the classic. Let us understand the second objective of today's learning, that is panning of cookies. Panning, baking, and cooling. How do you do that? This is also a very important segment in cookie chapter. Now, talking about panning, panning basically is whatever you put it on a baking tray is called as panning in bakery. Okay, so you need to prepare the pan first. How you're going to prepare the pan first? Always use clean trays whenever you have to bake a cookie. So it can be a tray, it can be a sheet, it can be anything. And as far as possible, line it up with parchment paper or silicone paper. Why we do that is it is easy to eliminate the necessity of greasing the pan, and you get a good texture. Your cookie will spread less. As you can see it in the picture, good, nice, clean tray, line it up with parchment paper and put your cookies on top of it. Okay. A heavy greased pan. Why do we have to do that? A heavy greased pan would increase the spread, and a greased and dusted pan would decrease the spread. So it depends upon what exactly you do in the panning process, which will decide the spread of your cookie. So if you line it up with parchment paper, the spread will be less. If you do the greasing, the spread will be a little more. Okay, let us understand how do you bake a cookie. Most of the cookies are baked at a relatively higher temperature for a shorter time. Like I've told it to you in my first class, that is, bake it at a higher temperature for a shorter period of time. If the temperature is too low, increasing spreading and may produce a dry, pale cookie. So there will be increase in the spreading, and your cookie texture, color, and everything will be not good. Too higher temperature decrease spreading and may burn the edges or the bottoms also. So you need to be a little careful when you do that. Even a minute of over baking in the cookie may burn the cookie. So watch them every time very closely. Also, the heat of pan continues to bake the cookie if they are left on it after being removed. So this is called as carryover baking. You know, the pan is still warm, still hot, and the cookie size is low. So that is how it is completely baking also after it is removed from the oven. So as the pan gets cooler, the cookie starts getting crispier. Doneness is indicated by color. The edges and the bottom should be just turning a light golden color, which is appropriate color for any cookie. Excessive browning, especially undesirable if the dough is being colored. So you have to be a little careful on those specific batters or dough. The browning of the surface hides the color. With some rich dough, now this is very important, with some rich doughs, like rich cakes, rich doughs. So with some rich doughs, burnt bottoms may be a problem. So in these cases, double pan the cookie by placing sheet pan on the second pan. So the first pan needs to be upside down in the oven, and on that upside down tray, you put your cookie tray for baking. So it is not directly in control with the bottom heat, in contact with the bottom heat. Okay, that is really important whenever we have to bake any cookie. The third and the last segment is how do you cool a cookie? For most cookies baked without a silicone paper, remove them from the pan and put it on the wire rack while still they are warm. So as they get cool, they get their required texture, what you are looking for. It is okay if the cookie are very soft. Do not remove from the pan until they are cool enough and firm enough to handle. Some cookies are soft when hot, but they do become crispy when they are cool. Okay, very important. And always remember, before you pack any cookie, make sure the cookie is cool completely before you store it up in an airtight container. Always remember to store it up in an airtight container so that the textures and the body of the cookie remains. The texture remains what you are looking for.
Macarons are one of the most popular but also most challenging desserts to get right. We spent many months and made dozens of batches in the pursuit of trying to find a recipe and some foolproof techniques to help you do it right the first time. A perfect macaron should be chewy on the inside and crispy on the outside. It should have those classic feet and a smooth top. First things first, you want to let the egg whites come to room temperature for at least 30 minutes before you get started. Having the egg whites rest is going to result in a much fluffier, airier meringue. So, pro tip, a really easy way to separate your whites from your yolks is to actually use your hands. You can alternate between eggshells, but you risk puncturing the egg yolk, you could get some shell in it. It's actually a little more time consuming. If you wash your hands, this is a really easy way to go. Now we can move on to our dry ingredients. So you want your dry ingredients to be really, really fine to ensure that smooth top. This is the time to break out your food processor if you have one. So we're gonna add our dry ingredients to a food processor. We'd recommend pulsing it at least 10 times, but you really can't go too far here. The finer the dry ingredients, the smoother your top is gonna be. Even if you buy extra fine almond flour, it's not gonna be that smooth. You might get a bit of a lumpy surface. If you don't have a food processor, fear not, your macarons can still be delicious, they might just be a little lumpier on top. Another tip to get that really smooth surface is to sift your dry ingredients a few times after you've pulsed it in the food processor. This is just going to ensure a really smooth top so you can get those picture-perfect macarons. Now we're going to move on to our wet ingredients. Start off by beating the egg whites with a pinch of salt. That's just going to help stabilize them. You also want to use the whisk attachment to help beat some extra air into your meringue. So you're going to beat the egg whites just until they get really frothy and are no longer translucent, just like this. That's when you want to start adding the sugar really gradually. If you add too much sugar at once, it's going to deflate all that beautiful air that you just whipped into the meringue. Once all the sugar's added, keep beating until you get stiff peaks. If your peaks are falling over, like this, you still need to keep going. Once they're really stiff like this, you're all set. So if your peaks are stiff enough, you can actually flip a bowl upside down without anything falling out. Once your meringue is good to go, you're going to add the vanilla extract. You don't want to do this too early or you're not going to get those really big, beautiful, stiff peaks. And lastly, we're going to add our food coloring. We'd recommend using a gel food coloring because it gives you a much more vibrant color. Using a liquid food coloring is going to thin your batter out and it's going to fade during baking. It's really subtle, but you can see here how the one with liquid food coloring actually looks more peachy than pink. Now we're ready to combine the wet and dry ingredients. So first, add 1/3 of the dry ingredients to the meringue. Now we're going to macaronage. That's the technique of folding the dry ingredients into the meringue. Traditionally, you gently fold the ingredients together 35 to 40 times, but we found that you actually want to be really aggressive to beat out any remaining air bubbles. That'll help you get a really consistent cookie. So there's not an exact number of times that you need to fold the batter. It's really just something you want to keep an eye on. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the texture should look like wet sand ribbons. Some people describe it as lava, but how many of us have really seen lava? A tried and true test is to do the figure 8 method. One of the biggest mistakes people make is either undermixing or overmixing their batter. Once it's all incorporated, go really slowly and keep practicing that figure 8 until you've got it. That'll really ensure that you don't go too far. Once you can make a figure 8 with the batter without it breaking, you're good to go. Stop here and do not keep mixing. Now that the batter's ready, we're ready to start piping our macarons. Fill a piping bag with the round tip. Put 4 dots of the batter in each corner of your baking sheet. Then place the parchment paper on top. This is going to help secure the parchment paper so it's not going to slide all around as you're piping. A lot of recipes call for silicone mats, but after numerous tests, we found that they can actually make the cookies a little moist. Parchment paper will really dry your macarons out, which is what you want. This was one of my personal biggest revelations during testing. The classic size of a macaron is about 1.5 inches wide. You can buy a template for piping, but you can also just eyeball it like we did. Once the macarons are piped, it's time to drop the tray. Make sure you do not skip this step. Dropping the tray is going to help eliminate any air bubbles. It also is going to ensure that you get a really smooth surface on top. Let the macarons rest at room temperature for 30 minutes to an hour. The macarons are going to get this kind of of weird film on top, and you can actually brush your finger back and forth after an hour and see that it's not going to indent. That's a sign that they're ready to go. If you don't do this step, the macarons aren't going to rise properly and you won't get those classic feet. In our case, when we tested it, the feet grew outward instead of upward. Now you want to bake the macarons at 300 degrees for 17 minutes. If you have an oven thermometer, this is a really good time to use it. Make sure your oven's not running too hot or too cold, or the macarons aren't going to come out right. As with all baking, don't open the oven door. If you do, you could deflate the macarons. If your macarons are sticking to the parchment paper after this, it just means they're a little underbaked. You can just pop them back in the oven for a minute or two. When you take the macarons out of the oven, let them cool on the baking sheet for 15 to 30 minutes. When they're done, they should lift right off the parchment just like this. Transfer the macarons to a wire rack to fully dry out and cool before filling. If you don't, all your filling's just gonna melt all over them. So while our macarons dry out, we're gonna work on our filling. We're gonna go with a really classic vanilla buttercream, and we'll talk about ways that you can get a little fancy with your fillings a bit later on. So first, you're gonna cream your room temperature butter. Once it's really beautiful and fluffy, just like this, you're gonna sift your powdered sugar into the bowl. You don't have to sift it, but this will just result in a really smooth, creamy buttercream. Once everything's combined, add the vanilla. Then you can add 1 or 2 tablespoons of heavy cream and mix until it's incorporated. We needed to add a little more cream, and you can just do this a tablespoon at a time until it's the right consistency. Now that the buttercream's done, add it to a piping bag, again fitted with a round tip. Filling the cookies is pretty straightforward. Just pipe a dollop onto the cookie that's a little smaller than the size of the actual cookie. Then press 2 sides together, and you're good. Now, the part that takes the most patience out of this entire process is that we'd actually recommend that you wait at least 24 hours before eating your macarons. This will help them develop the best flavor and texture. You may be tempted to eat one right away, and, if you do, we won't tell. But really, it's worth your while to let them rest. Once you feel like you've mastered the basic macaron, feel free to get creative. When you're starting out, the easiest way to customize your macarons is by playing around with food coloring and the flavor of your filling. You could flavor your buttercream, you can make a chocolate ganache, or a lemon curd. The possibilities are truly endless. And those are the basics of how to get started making macarons. They can be pretty intimidating and honestly really easy to mess up if you don't know what you're doing. But if you follow our tried and true tips, you'll be able to master the techniques needed to nail perfect macarons every time. From here, you really just need to try it.
How many did you make?
I think I made probably over 2,000 macarons.
Oh my god.
They take a lot of time, they take patience. If you make a macaron right, you've won life.
Isn't that a beautiful video? Now, on that note, let us take the level of understanding. So how much you have understood? Let us have my review number 2. First question in my review number 2. Which of the following cookies are made with sponge method of cookie making? Your options are chocolate chip cookies, macarons, brownies. My question number 2. Which of the following will eliminate the necessity of greasing the pan? Question. The options are in front of you: parchment paper, aluminum foil, and cling foil. Now I'll reveal the solutions for you. The first answer is macarons are made up by sponge method of cookie making. And the second answer is parchment paper, which will eliminate the greasing of pan. Very important, and always you have to make sure and remember. These are few references which are being used for making this video. The video which you have seen on macarons are taken from BuzzFeed.com, and all the images which are used for this making video is labeled for reuse Google Images. Thank you very much, dear students, for watching. I shall see you all again in the last and final segment of the topic, that is Cookies 3. So you make it a point, you see all the 3 chapters to know it correctly and to know all the technicalities of baking correctly. If you find this video informative, do like, share, and comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much, dear students, for watching, and I should see you in the third and the final segment of my topic on cookie making. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you.